So what I want to do now, this is your second session on gender and power. Exciting, exciting. You have tables where you have program partners and the participants. Okay, for this session, every single one of you is equal. No one is an expert in any of these issues. We want everyone to speak. If you can turn to the person next to you, okay, we're going to do the next session in pairs. What I want you to do, and try and speak to someone who you might not have spoken to before, you're going to just speak to each other. You can have 2 minutes each. And in that 2 minutes, the first person speaks. And you're going to talk about an experience where you felt incredibly powerful, right? And then you're going to talk about an experience when you had the power taken away from you. So turn to the person next to you, and we're going to start the timer now, and first person speaks. 4 concepts around gender and power. Number 1, so gender is not about women only. We are looking at the concepts of power, privilege, and bias, and how these concepts influence different gendered groups, how it oppresses some, and how it advantages some. Okay? That is the only thing you guys need to remember. And by Friday, you're going to be reeling that off. You're going to be hearing me saying this a lot, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The third concept that's really important, intersectionality. Anything to do with advantaging a gendered group or oppressing a gendered group is going to be compounded when you consider things like race, religion, sexuality, ethnicity, culture, customs, okay? All of us know this. I can see lots of heads nodding. We know this. And the last concept, concept 4, is there is no one-size-fits-all anywhere. Even around Australia, what we are going to do within ygap is not going to be the same as what TDI might be doing, okay? We're in the same state, in the same city. Why are we doing this, right? We're doing this because we know, every single person in this room knows, that it's often the local entrepreneurs, the local leaders have the most powerful solutions, right? That's why we do what we do. We are enabling them. But we also know that power dynamics, right? The bad power dynamics means that they often don't have the power to have the impact that they have the potential to have. That's why we're doing this. As intermediaries, you guys have the power to disrupt the negative power dynamics. I hope you feel that, okay? And lastly, we want to look at all of this in terms of organization, how your organization is structured, your programming, and the ecosystem, okay? Now we're going to play a really quick game. So on your tables, you've got orange Post-it notes, pink Post-it notes, and the Frontier Incubators cards. Can all of you take one of each and just keep it in your hands? Pink Post-it note represents power. The orange Post-it note represents privilege. Maybe just write it on top so you remember. And the Frontier Incubators postcard, because we've run out of the blue Post-it notes, is bias. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. And within that question, I want you guys to consider which concept of power, privilege, or bias is oppressing a gendered group within that question. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to think about which concept between power, privilege, and bias is oppressing a particular gendered group in the question that I'm going to ask. And I don't want you guys to shout out. You can if you want. I want you to lift up the coloured papers and then have a look around. Question 1. Your government releases a grant round which states that all intermediaries can only accept female entrepreneurs. Is this a demonstration of power, privilege, or bias? So for me, I actually listed this as a power one. So there you go. Either I've got it completely wrong, or it's different in different contexts, right? Perfect. Second question. A female investor chooses to give Avery funding over Aaron because Avery is female. Is that power, privilege, or bias? And the last question. Aaron and Avery go and pitch for funding. The funders are a team of 5 Anglo-Saxon white males. They refuse to let Avery pitch. They only want to hear Aaron pitch, even though Avery is the CEO and the founder of the venture. Power, privilege, or bias? And so that is a real life example, not with these two, but I guess a lot of us would have gone through this, or you will go through this. Fantastic. So what did that show you guys? These are really complex concepts if you haven't thought of them before, right? And it will mean different things to you guys, and that's absolutely okay. A lot of us don't even understand that within us we have privilege and bias and all these things that we've grown up with and we've accepted, or we don't even know what we're doing. And this is what this is about. Like, we have to have a really, really deliberate approach. That's exactly what this is. And it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable, but it's something we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you handouts. There's 3 handouts. One is in relation to your organization. One is in relation to your programming. One is in relation to the ecosystem that you work in, okay? Please take one of each copy. And what I want you to do is start working quietly first. And I want you to, this is something we do at ygap, right? You have to think about, what do you find really unacceptable related to gender dynamics? There, what I want you to think about, I want you to write it on Post-it notes or in the actual document, and write in the box that resonates the most with you, okay? And you're going to have about 3 minutes to do that. So I want to give a really quick example before we go to the next stage. So we work, we've got a campaign that ends violence against children, and it's called the Polish Man campaign. And one of our program partners, or one of our funding partners is Hagar. I think some of you might have heard of Hagar. Now they work in Afghanistan, and in Afghanistan there's, and I might get these facts wrong because this is what I've been told, it's not something I've experienced, but there's a tradition where young boys are stolen and they dance for men, or they dance for entertainment. So the other day, a few of us were talking, and I said, imagine if we had an accelerator just for men. Why him, right? We have an accelerator for females. And it was, can you imagine? Like, what if I said to you guys, let's start an accelerator just for men? You can imagine the controversy that it would generate, right? What if that accelerator was based in Afghanistan, challenging this issue that they're facing right now, that little boys are being stolen to do this? Again, it's context, right? And it's really, really deep-seated issues that we're tackling. So the next stage, I want you to get into pairs, just at your table if you like. I want you to take your 3 statements, and if you haven't got your 3 it's unacceptable statements, try and get them, and we want you to flip them. So find what you find it's unacceptable, and you're going to flip it to say, how are you going to tackle this? We don't want solutions yet. It's just, how are you going to do it? So, my example, it's unacceptable that in Bangladesh, 90% of the applicants were male, right? My question is, how can I ensure that when I select a cohort, or when I advertise, it is not 90% male? That's just your question. So I want you to work in pairs first to get to this. So you've got your 3 it's unacceptable statements, and I want your 3 how can we statements.